Answers often have very complex terms to avoid answering questions directly. So in simple terms, I ask both of you, where are we in the economic cycle right now? Does it get better next, or does it get worse before it gets better? Mr. Kotak. Okay, Arundhati.
Okay. I think we are in a good place, and I think it gets better. Given the fact that all of our macro fundamentals currently are doing very well, and we have huge amount of potential, much more than we can see in any other country across the globe right now. And therefore, with a government that is quite focused on bringing about growth, with the kind of lessons that we have learned in the near past, I think we are in a good place, and we are just at the beginning of the upturn.
So when does it get better?
It should be getting better, means from here upwards. So if you ask me when exactly, very difficult to pinpoint the time, but I would say, from the bank side, we are already beginning to see things becoming better. It's a question of where you expect better to be, whether there is any parameter that you are indicating which will indicate that it is better.
Okay, can I lay out a parameter? Lower NPAs, higher profitability.
Surely, and that I think should come about in the next 4 quarters. Both of the things that you are talking about, better demand and credit growth, more projects, lesser NPAs, all of that should come about in the next 4 quarters.
Mr. Kotak, not very long ago, when we were talking to you at CNBC TV 18, you said, "Achhe din aane wale hai." Then we were speaking to you again. This was after the elections. You said, "Achhe din aa gaye." But things didn't go to plan. We asked you again. You said, "Achhe din dheere dheere aa rahe hai." So when is that much promised land of Achhe din going to be here? 4 quarters?
First of all, Achhe din for whom? What has happened right now is Achhe din have come for savers, not necessarily fully for borrowers yet. Therefore, it depends on whether you're a saver or a borrower. Having said that, my view is India's challenge today is that we are a good boy in a bad world. If you look at our current account, if you look at our fiscal deficit, if you look at our conservative monetary policy, on every parameter, India is an achha boy. The problem is, and this takes me back to my college days. I remember in my first year at college, I had to go for the college prom. So you normally invited somebody or some girl from the college out for the prom.
Who did you invite?
The trouble is, all the good girls wanted to go with the bad boys. Therefore, India being a good boy is finding it troublesome in a bad world.
I'm speechless. I don't know what to say.
I did not get a girl.
He is a good boy. He is a good boy always.
But what's the point of being the good boy if you don't end up with a girl?
In a bad world. Therefore, India is facing the challenges of what's happening in a bad world where everybody is following a loose money and a loose fiscal policy, and some countries are getting away. India is following, but the good news of being a good boy is that in the long run, you will be better off.
What's the point of being the good boy in a bad world then?
But over time, it works.
We only have your promise, right, or your word for it. But to get back a little bit more serious to the fundamentals, we just saw a whopper of a rate cut, unexpected, twice the expected amount, if I may call it. How or what impact do you see this having on the economy and also on the banking industry? Because effectively, it is also going to mean, to some extent, that you're not going to be able to raise maybe deposit rates as quickly because of the small savings rate, but you might have to see a reduction in loan rates. How is all of that going to pan out? Is profitability going to be under pressure despite the gains on bonds or treasury income?
I think, first of all, RBI has done a brilliant job. First of all, one of the first lessons in business is manage expectations. Therefore, let everyone believe there is no rate cut or at the most 25 basis. So you manage expectations first, which was brilliantly done by RBI. And then you exceed it so people feel it's a big bang. And along with that, he has put the shoe back on 3 categories of people. Number one, the bankers. We, RBI, have done 125 basis points. Now, you bankers better respond. So, monkey is put on our back.
Arundhati is smiling.
So that is point number one. I
She
think he played it
responded
very
yesterday.
smartly. Point number 2, government has to reduce small savings. Government was constantly pushing RBI for rate cut. Now, Dr. Rajan says, I have delivered, it's your turn. So it's back to the banks, the government. And third, and the most important aspect, is the business lobby in India. You know, in India, the business lobby makes the noise. The savers just walk. They don't make the noise. And now, it is up to the business lobby to act and deliver, to see the investment cycle kick in, so that we bankers can actually lend to business.
How is it ACHHE then for savers, sir?
I think savers are getting real interest rates. If inflation is at, say, CPI 5%, and again, think about India of the past. Till this governor came in, India used to measure inflation on WPI. If we went by WPI today, which is minus 4%, savers, like in America, would get 0% interest. Against that, this RBI has said, we will give real interest rates 1.5 to 2% above inflation. So the savers are positively in a better position, and it's the pressures on the borrowers that you will get real interest rates in terms of your cost of funds and produce returns through productivity, not through subsidy of real interest rates.
Okay. Arundhati, the entire shift in rates that has taken place yesterday is accompanied by a very somber message coming out of the RBI, and that is their concern on the growth situation. I'd admit that much of it comes from the global growth situation, but let's not forget domestic growth has not looked very encouraging either. In a situation like this, where you see maybe profitability take a little bit of a hit because of what's going on with interest rates, or at least your net interest margins might, and you have at the end of the day, loan books that will take longer to recover because he spoke of excess capacity in the industry. Do you expect that the next few quarters will be tougher for you at the bank?
Well, the next few quarters will be quite challenging, mainly because if you consider the credit growth, there are 2 ways credit grows. One is, of course, the working capital finance, which is required by companies in order to run their regular business. Today, on account of the fact that there is a negative WPI inflation, so the same amount of money enables companies to run at greater capacity. And therefore, the need for more working capital is almost not there. Secondly, the projects, which are the other areas where credit books grow. Now, there, sadly, what has happened is for the last, say, 2 years of the last government, absolutely no new projects were conceived or put forward. As a result, the entire pipeline of projects is empty. And now we have to build that pipeline again, and that takes time. Now, as a result of both of these 2 characteristics, the credit book is growing slowly. And if the credit book is growing slowly and you are cutting rates, then obviously there are challenges in the system. At the same time, of course, the savings rates are also coming down, but that book reprices much, much more slowly than your loan book, because that is on a fixed rate, and that will only reprice when the term is over.
Can you put in numbers what the pressure on profitability will be for the next few quarters?
Pressure on profitability in the interim will be around 10 basis points on the NIM. We've already said that around 10-12 basis points on the NIM is expected. But we will make up on the overall because, there will be profits that we can book on the treasury side.
Okay, fine. So this is the near-term challenge.